All right. Doors are open. Come on in. Hello, Lisa. Hello. Oh, Fizz. Katie. Cassandra. Hello.
I was saying this at our L10 meeting this week, Kuba, but I think we really do need some pump up music before these. So if anyone out there, if you're joining now and you have any, like maybe you attended a webinar and they had some good sort of music going on before and you got energized to actually watch the webinar, let us know if you have any favorite songs out there that we can actually put in our next webinar as we're doing this sort of brief introduction. Or if there's anything you'd like to see sort of in the initial 5 minutes of a webinar where we're just kind of getting started waiting for people to come in. I'm curious.
No, it's fine, Jeff. I'll just grab something from my band. Everybody loves doom metal, right? Progressive, blackened doom metal. That's up everybody's alley, isn't it?
That is true. Everyone, Kuba's got some gigs going on. So if you're in Poland, check them out.
Ah, Cassandra's saying titanium. Good electronic riffs for fun. Awesome. Oh, that's reminding me. I don't know if I got the chat set up correctly. Panelists can chat with, attendees can chat with. Let's open things up for now. All right, you should be able to use the chat too. But yes, we will be using the Q&A section for Q&A, and I guess we can get started. You ready for me to open the ceremonies?
Let's do it.
All right, so hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Zen Pilot webinar. So nice to have you all with us here today. With me on the call is Jeff Cypher, Zen Pilot's very own, one and only productivity professor. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great, Kuba. It's about to start March Madness here in the US and excited to see what happens.
Yeah, my brother likes to follow that. He's a big basketball fan. We're talking about the basketball March Madness, right? The NBA
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Okay.
NCAAs.
I'm in the know this time around. Alrighty. So, welcome everyone to our webinar for you here today. We've got Jeff on the call and he'll be teaching you about a lot of new ClickUp 3.0 features. As always, let us know that you can hear us and you can see us. Actually, I've got a slide for this. Right. Let us know that you can see us and hear us in the chat. Let us know everything is coming through correctly. Am I even coming through the right microphone? I should be. I am not. Okay, the audio quality on my end should be a little bit better now. So with that out of the way, quick housekeeping before we move on. In terms of Q&A, leave your questions throughout the stream. Okay, chat is showing 3 messages loud and clear. Thank you, Vincent, Beth, Thiz. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, awesome. Everybody, quite often the first question we get is, will there be a webinar recording? There will be. You'll get it via email. If you're here, that means you signed up. If you signed up, that means you'll get the webinar recording. So don't worry about that. And I do encourage you to follow ZenPilot on LinkedIn for more events. You can also go to zenpilot.com. Under resources, you can subscribe to the First Class Operations newsletter. And usually that is the very first place where we share about our upcoming events. So if you want to grab, early bird tickets to our stuff, then that's where you'll grab them. And that's that for housekeeping. For anybody meeting us for the first time, hi, we're Zen Pilot. We help agencies and other types of businesses cancel chaos and create clarity. The way we do that is by helping them create a unified work management system on top of ClickUp, which we have found to be the most flexible and the most full-featured and the most user-friendly project management platform in the known universe. A few facts about us before we move on with the session. We have been ClickUp's highest rated partner since 2018, and that's because we were ClickUp's first ever implementations partner. So that's a fun fact for you. We have been in this game longer than, well, possibly anyone in the business. We're a team of ClickUp certified experts. You may have seen in some ClickUp workspaces, the different ticks that people get for being ClickUp ambassadors or ClickUp power users. Most of us on our ClickUp instance have got all 3 of those ticks next to our accounts. And companies that want to streamline their operations work with us to do just that on top of ClickUp. And what we lean on are the 3 keys that you need to build a well-functioning project management system. This is definitely the tool, and ClickUp is a great one, but you also need the right processes and the right habits, the right best practices, and we'll be sharing about that here today. I'm Jakub Kuba Grajcar, ZenPilot's content marketing manager. I run events, I run our newsletter, I run the Agency Journey podcast, which you may have heard about. And Jeff is here as well as our productivity professor. Jeff, do a quick intro so people who don't know you get to know you.
Yeah, for those who don't know me, as Kuba said, I am the productivity professor here at ZenPilot. Essentially, I like to call myself marketing nerd turned operations consultant, or marketing consultant turned operations nerd. I've been in the marketing world for a while now, but fell in love really with the process, the systems, the operation side. Ended up finding ClickUp and ZenPilot. Fell in love with sort of the system that we build for teams. And here I am today. I've led over 100 different agencies really through their ClickUp implementation and really love every minute of it. ClickUp is an amazing tool, so I'm excited for all those ClickUp nerds out there, along with me, to just continue to learn more and more about the tool.
We are probably the biggest ClickUp nerds on the planet. So if you want to nerd out about ClickUp, here we
Proud of it.
are to do
Proud
that
of it
with
too.
you.
Proud of it too. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yes. Proud nerds. That's us. Alrighty. So we're about to jump into a whole webinar for you today, about an hour, a little bit less than, to tell you about ClickUp 3.0. But first, I wanted to tease a little bit, or to tell you about the ZenPilot system, because that's really, what we're going to show you here today is a piece of a puzzle. And that puzzle, ultimately, what it's supposed to bring you, especially if you're a service-based business, is full and total clarity, not only into who's working on what, by when it is due, when it will be done, who's responsible for what, and ensuring clarity and accountability across the board, but also even more is possible when you go deep enough into ClickUp and start building on top of it. So what you're seeing here is just a little tease. We won't be talking about this in detail today, but this is ZenPilot's profitability reporting product. You basically can have this kind of dashboard that shows you the profitability of your clients, of your service lines, how your account managers are dealing with their budgets, how your team members are performing in terms of billable versus non-billable hours, and a lot more. I'm sharing this because in all the conversations we've had, this is the aha moment. Seeing this dashboard and seeing that this is possible is what the people that we talk with, the companies that we talk with, usually get most excited about. So I make it a point to talk about it when we start our webinars. Not the main topic for today, but do look up ZenPilot profitability reporting if you want to learn more about that. And now, the agenda for today. Quick check of the chat. Jeff left a message, not important. We've got one in the Q&A. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And we've got some suggestions on the hype up music. I will look into that. Alrighty, Jeff, why don't you take our attendees here through the agenda and we'll get this party started.
Awesome. Thank you, Kuba. So today we have a lot of exciting stuff, a lot to cover. Obviously, as we all know, ClickUp 3.0 came out at the end of last year, I believe it was. We've had it for quite some time. I can't remember when the overall release to the general public happened. But obviously, there's a lot of exciting things in the new platform. They keep even adjusting new things here every single week. So you'll see a lot of different UI enhancements that come in here and there. And we've been keeping track of these, kind of figuring out what works best and sort of how this might adjust some of your workflows. So I have a lot to talk about ClickUp 3.0. Before I jump into this agenda and really the bulk of this conversation, I'm just curious from the crowd here, what really is your favorite part of ClickUp 3.0, whether it's like the new task view, the custom fuel manager, ClickUp Brain, or maybe some little UI enhancements that they've had? What is your favorite thing? And then maybe also with that, is there anything in particular that you're hoping to either get out of the session or learn overall about ClickUp 3.0? I'm curious because I love to kind of gauge around sort of what you want so we can kind of adjust the session to that. Obviously, we can't cover every single thing. This is actually part 2 of our ClickUp 3.0 series, and we'll be probably doing more just because a lot of people are curious. But yeah, feel free to throw that in the chat of sort of what's your favorite thing about ClickUp 3.0, as well as maybe what you also want to learn about it as well. And while you guys are all answering that, I'll go through my agenda of what I have planned for today. The first thing, we could talk a little bit about some UI enhancements, especially some new ones that I just noticed that I think are very valuable. I want to spend some time on the new task view. We actually did talk about this on our last ClickUp 3.0 webinar that we did, and we can get that link out to our old session if you weren't able to attend that, because that'll be super helpful as well. We spent a lot of time in the task view in the inbox, and we ran out of time to do some things like the custom field manager, ClickUp AI. So I wanted to do that today. But that is probably going to be the most important thing when it comes to actually adjusting your workflows, especially for your team. So I'm not sure all who is here on today's call, but especially for those that are maybe trying to take some information back to their team to kind of tell them, hey, maybe we need to adjust some ways we do things, or maybe we need to adjust the way that we communicate in ClickUp. The task view is really going to be important for you to pay attention to as I go over that here in this webinar. In addition, I want to go over the custom field manager. We ran out of time last time to talk about the custom field manager, and this is super important. You're going to get more out of the custom field manager depending on your plans. So especially those on the Business Plus, there's some features that are super important on the custom field manager that I'll talk about for those plans. But the custom field manager is very valuable. I'll show you what we had created a long time ago before this was in existence and why it's super important. In addition, we'll go over ClickUp Brain. I'll talk about a few things here and there of what I've actually used and ways that it can be used, because it's obviously super cool. As we get a lot of different AI tools out there, ClickUp Brain is very cool, especially because it's inside of ClickUp in your project management system where you're working every day. So I want to go over that. And then lastly, talk about some ClickUp commands as well, because I love ClickUp commands. They're very easy. We have a tool called Text Expander, which we've used in the past, but ClickUp commands can help kind of maybe, I don't know, get rid of that tool. Kuba, I know you love Text Expander. It's a great way to just type in a few things and get a great sort of snippet of text out, especially when it comes to email templates and quick links and things like that. But ClickUp commands are a great way to kind of be able to do some things like that. So I'll go over ClickUp commands as well. And I'm seeing a lot of messages in the chats. So I'll make sure we go through these and make sure I don't miss anything coming up. So Kuba, I'm sure you'll look at that. I see we have one.
You switch over the screen share. I'll read some of the stuff that people are interested in to you. So Tyler's saying the homepage cards. Lisa is saying the new task view. We will be talking about that for a little bit here. Somebody's still newer to ClickUp, so just interested in just about everything. Oh, lost the chat window for a second there. All right, quick action menu, hubs, tray, dashboards, dashboard cards, task types, custom field managers in there. Definitely going to look at that today. AI summaries and stand-ups, the tray feature again. Yeah, the tray is really handy. It is. Status progress, learning how to utilize the voice-generated automations in the AI writing assistant. Wow, that is a lot to cover. Certainly, we're not going to be able to cover all of this today. But yeah, like Jeff mentioned, we're probably going to be doing a part 3 and maybe even onwards based on your suggestions here. So thank you. Keep them coming. Let's keep the chat, lively and active. We'll be addressing that as we go. And yeah, Jeff, I think you're good to proceed.
Yeah, thanks, Kuba. So yeah, feel free to keep throwing those in the chat, because even if we can't cover everything today, we're always coming up with YouTube videos and content, both like our LinkedIn channels and on our website. So we're happy to kind of, if you're wanting a video or wanting to know more about something very in depth as opposed to just on this webinar, feel free to throw that topic our way, and we will create some sort of content based off of our beliefs on how that could be best used. So again, keep that chat open, keep asking questions as we go through this. But now I want to kind of transition and talking about really the new task view. Let's start with that. And then kind of as we're going through that, go over some new UI enhancements as well. So the new task view, I would have to say, is probably my favorite piece of ClickUp 3.0, mainly just the way that it's built to be really, as we call, sort of like a command center. So for those that aren't familiar with how us at Zenpalette set up sort of your workflows here inside of ClickUp, I'll give you a brief overview. And if you've been to our sessions before, you've probably heard this. Don't tune out, because it is super important to keep repeating it over and over again, because you'll probably take a little bit more out of it each and every time I go over this. But as you can see here, oftentimes people inside of ClickUp just have parent tasks that are start dates and due dates. And it's basically like, as you can see here, it might just be blog post as the parent task. The start date is Monday. The due date is Friday. It's assigned to like 5 different people, or maybe just assigned to once. And then you're using some automations with statuses to pass that work back and forth. And that's just a kind of common workflow. Like I hear all the time, like, how can I best pass work back and forth via automation? And so they're wanting to combine a status change to actually switching this assignee. And that's how things slip through the cracks. We've audited hundreds and hundreds of workspaces and noticed that's why people are missing things. And that's why things are not getting done, because no one really knows what they're in charge of in that particular blog post. Like, I don't know if I'm in charge of writing it. I don't know if I'm in charge of designing it, like thumbnails on it. I don't know if I'm in charge of maybe interviewing the client, if this is for a client that you're writing the blog post for. So the way that we do it is essentially your parent tasks become sort of the deliverable, or a way to kind of group up all of those actionable items. So as you can see here, I have blog post, I have the name of it, and then all of these subtasks are then what is actually assigned out to every like individual here. So as you can see, complete blog interview with client, write blog copy, proof blog copy, apply blog proofing revisions, design blog imagery. Essentially what that allows us to do is Andrew is assigned to this one. When he finishes it, he closes it, and then we'll move on to the next one. In addition, with that, we then need to know where we're actually going to be communicating with the team on what we actually did, or if there's any context that the team's going to need. So sometimes people will take this and then they'll start leaving comments in the subtasks. And so with the new task view in ClickUp, what becomes very easy is to make your parent tasks now the communication hub for that specific deliverable. So as you can see, blog post paper 101, as all of these tasks are completed by each person, we are then coming to the parent task. And the reason I can do this now with the new task view is you can see over here, I have this menu for basically my whole workflow. So I'll be assigned out to completing blog interview with client. And then when I'm done with this, I can go ahead and close it. I can navigate to the parent task. And if I need to leave a comment for anyone, I go to the parent task. Very easy for me to get to that parent task from the subtasks, and also see the whole workflow here. And I can come here and leave my comments. So that's super important, because now, again, your communication for this deliverable is not going to get lost in maybe a bunch of different subtasks or in Slack or an email. You want to make sure that everything that has to do with this deliverable or this project gets put into this parent task to make sure everyone knows what's happening. As you can see here, like things of versions of the blog post that we're actually writing, it's linked out here. I can see that any thumbnail images are put in here. And the cool part about ClickUp is I can also just leave comments directly on this image if I wanted to call something out. So this is super important to make sure that you get communication habits like this, where again, you build out all of your subtasks. These are all assigned to people, but then the parent task becomes really the communication hub, or just the hub of all the resources and everything goes in here so that everyone can get to their task. They have the context and actually know what they need to do. So nothing slips through the cracks, as well as just make sure people aren't going around looking for things, waiting for you and things like that. So this makes your team more productive, as well as, again, just make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So that's really the most important piece of this. With 3.0 in terms of how it's going to adjust your workflow. Again, just make sure you build out all of your processes and workflows like this sort of structure, with the parent task representing that deliverable. All these subtasks become the action steps. They're all assigned out. They have due dates on them with time estimates, all the custom fields, and then I can track time against each of these individually as well. And in addition to that, I would also say you also want to make sure that these are actually built out in a process library like this. So if I were to come down here, I could go to see where this one actually is in inbound. As you'll see, we have all of these built out as process templates. I build that here. I can then go ahead and actually save this as a template. And then I'm able to go and just use it over and over and over again. So if you haven't used the ClickUp Template Center, I highly recommend it. Really, a project management system can only do so much if you don't have any of your processes built out, if you don't have any of those workflows inside of ClickUp, or really whatever you're using. You're not going to get all that it has to offer. Like, that template center is a thing that you need to use the most, because that's what's going to make your team more productive. That's what's actually going to build a system for you to use and leverage. So if you're an owner of a business and you want to be able to take yourself out of that business, you need to get everything out of your brain into here as these workflow templates so that your team can leverage and use them, so you don't have to be in the day-to-day all of the time. And that's incredibly useful, especially for teams as they're just growing and scaling on the early stages. However, to transition that now to, I'll talk about the inbox and how that works with this, because the inbox is much better than the notifications, what they used to have. And the way that I use them, I would always say, if you're trying to reach out to someone, just make sure you always use the @ mention. If you don't use it, there's a chance that maybe they wouldn't see that, especially if they're not a watcher on one of those tasks. So always just have your team, anytime you're trying to mention someone, just mention them inside of ClickUp. You can also use sort of the Teams feature. Some people use that to assign work out to a bunch of different people. But like in this case, if I made a team here, like delivery team, I could mention everyone by just saying @delivery and use that feature in ClickUp as well. However, as you'll see here, I can click in and we'll see John Smith left me a message. Do I have any feedback on this? Inside of the inbox, I'll also have the ability to pull out these details like this. So have your team, if they're kind of wondering, what does this have to do? Like you can see it up here where this is actually what task this is on. But if I wanted to pull out the details to see, okay, here's the task, this is the actual blog post, I could come to the activity here to see all of the communication that's happening here. And then I can actually go in and leave my message in here instead of just leaving it right here. But you could do it in there. I'm just saying, if you pull out the activity over here or the details and activity like that, that's going to make it much easier for your team to kind of know where this comment is coming from. And I found that like I didn't know that existed for a little bit. And then I started leveraging it, and it's so much easier for you to be able to see like really everything from that task of where that comment was actually left. Because if you start replying in here, some things can get kind of confusing. So I'd always recommend you actually go pull out those details to see all the comments right there. So that's the first section, is going to be actually using and communicating inside of ClickUp. Again, that's really important. That's why I like to talk about again. We went over this last time, but just make sure, again, your team has a way of communicating. The most important piece of that is just to make sure that the team is trained and they have expectations for how they should be communicating. If your team is not sure where they should be leaving comments or how they should be communicating, they might be communicating in ClickUp. They might be texting people. They might be emailing, and they might have just project details and stuff all over the place. Make sure you create that single source of truth, because it's going to make your lives that much easier. So I'll pause there. Kuba, let me know if there's any kind of comments or feedback that came from that, or any questions. And if not, we can sort of dive into the next thing.
We're all good on the chat and the questions. Yeah, not to use up too much time because it is limited today, I think.
Yep.
You're free to proceed.
Cool. And yeah, if anyone, let me know if there's any other ways that your team is communicating in ClickUp. That's really my question I have for you. Are you guys communicating the parent tasks? Are you kind of struggling in communicating in Slack and ClickUp and don't really know where to put that information? Or maybe your team is emailing all over the place. You're struggling to get all of it in one place. Let me know in the comments. And if you need any help with that, we can also help with that too. But transitioning from here, I want to go over just one. I'm going to kind of pick these out as I go, but I want to go over one UI enhancement that I really like that they did here inside of 3.0. And this is actually relatively new. But oftentimes, one of the things I noticed inside of ClickUp, and this has to do with custom fields too, and I'll kind of transition this into the custom field manager. But a lot of people started getting confused with custom fields in columns. So like, obviously, if you've been using ClickUp for a while now, you know that essentially I can add a custom field here, and it's essentially a column inside of this view. But some people got confused because they thought, like, if I come here and let's say I wanted to add a custom field here, they thought, okay, if I'm seeing this inside of this view, that means that this data is applied to this task. So yeah, that makes sense. However, when they went actually like hid this column, they essentially thought, okay, now that means that that data no longer applies to this task. They also thought they went ahead and deleted it. So some people would actually go and be like, shoot, I'm going to go create a new custom field like that one because I thought I actually made it disappear and it was deleted. But in that case, it's not. Like it's still there. People just got confused of like the hiding and unhiding and how custom fields worked alongside views. So it got to be a bit confusing, especially for new users. So the thing that I really like, because I mean, although this plus button is great to go ahead and add a custom field or a column to this view, they have it here now. And so this is really great because I think, in my opinion, it makes more sense because it's telling me like show and hide, and it's just listed out right there. So when I'm actually going through these view settings, it's just kind of grouped in the right spot. So now you're able to come here and I can actually go and make that hidden, or sorry, I can show that, or I can hide it just like that. And it's the same menu that's over here. So it's not really adjusting that much. I just find it very valuable now that it is here. And I just like how these sort of settings are laid out as opposed to 2.0. But just know for your team, instead of them having to scroll all the way over to this plus button and think they're like adding a new field and maybe deleting one, the menu is showing up here, which I just find is a better place for this to live overall inside of the UI. So that's one just to take note of. Again, that is right there for your team to see. The other thing I'll say in terms of the UI, which some people get a bit confused about, is the spaces over here. So, not that this is a step back, but just in case your team is kind of
Mm-hmm.
worried that they may be not seeing a certain space, just know you do have the ability to hide spaces. And then you'll see that it just disappears. And then if I wanted to go bring that back, I could go to view all spaces and like then watch this. I click on that, but I didn't actually show this. So if I go to that, you'll see now that that other process library disappears. So you need to make sure you actually go and show in your sidebar. That way it gets sticky there. So it used to be a little bit different. You
Yeah.
could just kind of hide the spaces and they'd be shown down here with a little toggle menu. But now they're actually going over to this all spaces here where you actually have to show in your sidebar or hide it overall. So that's just one thing to note in the UI. Bakuba, I saw you had your hand raised. So I'll pause there for that. Any question there are.
I, I was wondering if you saw that. So we've got a couple questions coming in specifically about what you're discussing right now. So I thought I'd
Yeah.
flag them. One is, you should let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Fizz is saying, I've deleted a custom field in a view or list, and suddenly it was deleted everywhere. How can I avoid that?
Yeah, I mean, the main way is it'll show you, like when you actually go to delete a custom field, it's going to give you a warning message, but you'll see it like says remove from space. I would just say if you do delete a custom field, if you are able to go into your trash, that's how you're going to be able to actually go and get that custom field back. But also the custom field manager is going to help a little bit with this. But yeah, just be careful when you're deleting a custom field. You want to make sure that you're either just removing it maybe from a specific location instead of deleting it overall. But again, instead of deleting any of these, oh, and I just sorted. Instead of deleting any of these from this basic list view here, I would go into your custom field manager because it's going to be a bit easier for you to manage and kind of know what you're actually doing when you go to delete something or move something. So do it in the custom field manager, but also check your trash to see it should be in there for at least, I think, 30 days or so. You can pull it back out and those values will still be there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Heis, for the question, because you gracefully explained in the chat how to pronounce your name. Awesome. And I've got a couple more. Nichelle is asking, I hope that's correct, Nichelle. If you hide a space and then get assigned on a task, will that still show up in your inbox?
Yes, this is not going to get rid of any of those spaces by any means. All it like it's still going to show up in your views up here. Essentially, you're just not seeing it in your menu over here. So views
Yeah.
and like inbox and stuff is going to work separately. That's just it's kind of like just a UI thing where you're not going to see it in the sidebar menu, but you're still going to see the notifications and things from it. So don't worry about that. Just sometimes people get lost because it disappeared like that and they think it's spaces is gone, but it's just because it's over here in your all spaces menu.
Okay. Short question, quick answer. And the next one is from Ashley. Can you hide workspaces in ClickUp in your view, but have it not affect anyone else's? We have like 50 workspaces across all the teams, and I'm terrified that we'll delete something by accident. I wonder if Ashley means workspaces or spaces here. It might be spaces, right?
I'm guessing it's spaces. Yeah, I'm reading this over your view, but it not affect anyone else's. Yeah, I'm believe that spaces.
It's spaces, yeah.
I would say the one thing, if I'm looking at this question correctly, if you want to have a view, like that's the one thing with views, and this is 3.0, this is 2.0, like every single version of ClickUp. That's where, especially for teams that aren't super familiar with ClickUp or sort of brand new coming in, views can be very, very confusing. I've worked with some new teams getting in here, and people will go and adjust these filters and adjust what was seen here because when you're editing ClickUp and a lot of tools, you're looking at the screen, you're like, okay, only I'm going to see this. This is not going to affect anyone else. But views in ClickUp are all public. So if I were to go and adjust any of these settings on here, Kuba, when he logs in, he's going to see the exact same view and all the changes that I made. So one way or one thing I would always say is always make templates of your views. So like if I had a bunch of views that I liked and I wanted to make sure it was standardized across my workspace, I could go and actually save these as templates. And then if someone does make an adjustment, I can go and just apply that template on there to bring it back to what it was. So that's one way of doing it. You can also go in the settings and you can protect views so that people can't go and edit them. But you can also make views private too. So if you're wanting to just see information here inside of ClickUp and you don't want like other people to see the view you're creating, If you go ahead and just make it a private view, that's going to make it so that you don't have to worry about everyone else. This is just a view that you're going to be seeing. So I would say, I would recommend you can create some private views in there. Just know no one else can see that. That's just for you. So if you adjust any filters or settings in that, it'll be fine.
Ashley's got a follow-up question. So I can't hide the spaces that aren't mine. I only want to see my space, not all the other teams across the enterprise. But do you mean in the sidebar, Ashley? Because if it's in the sidebar, then I think you can absolutely do that using what Jeff just
If
showed.
Well, I think I'm understanding the question now. If you want to, what you're able to do is you can use location filters inside of a
Ah,
view. So if you're trying to make a view at the everything level and say you have a bunch of people working out of different spaces here, you can come here. Location list is choose those locations. That way you're only seeing tasks and stuff from your particular spaces that you care about. So that's, I hope will answer your question there. That's what you can do. Use those location settings or filters to be able to help with that.
okay. Yeah, and I think we can get deeper into this off the call because we still got a lot of the core content for today to go
Yeah.
through.
Let's
Yeah,
yeah, let's
Ashley's saying filters and location settings might be the key here. So let's keep going, and I'll keep collecting the questions to do another round in a sec.
cool. So let's go over the custom field manager. And first I want to start off really with why the custom field manager is important. And the reason it's important is because if you are new to ClickUp or you've been using it for a while, you'll know when you first set up your workspace how exciting it is to add those custom fields. And so you kind of go in, you start adding a bunch of different ones because you're like, oh, this is great. Like if you've used spreadsheets in your span of spreadsheets, like you see all those different columns that you can add things, get a bunch of data on certain tasks and stuff. But what you're not realizing is how custom fields live and work inside of your workspace. In addition, you're also getting way too much clutter inside of your workspace as well. So oftentimes with ClickUp, I mean, it's very flexible and customizable. So you can create things like CRMs because of the custom fields. But again, you just want to make sure you don't go crazy at the beginning. This is why we always start every single implementation or teams that work with us with a sort of blueprint project because we want to design it out before we actually jump in. So we want to design that hierarchy, but we also want to see what custom fields will work where so that we can use those not just for prettying it up or getting a bunch of stuff on our tasks, but we can use that to actually leverage for reports and dashboards and views later on. So we need to think about like what's important to you. Like, do you want a view for all of your account managers or a dashboard for your account managers to just see work assigned or across their book of business, across their 3 or 4 clients? Then we might need a custom field for that. So we want to make sure there's a strategy behind the custom fields that you create. In addition, the custom field manager is super important is because I'll show you what we did in the past. But for those people that are sort of managing your workspaces, this doesn't apply really to the individual contributors, but the people that are like the ClickUp champions of your organization, the people that are trying to manage where these custom fields live and sort of the description of them and sort of how they should be used and why they should be used. In the past, we used to actually create a custom field manager like this, where we would go and show all the custom fields that we have applied here, show the locations where they're living in, write down the descriptions, talk about what level they're built out, because custom fields can live at really any level in your hierarchy. And we build it just like this. But then ClickUp decided to add a custom field manager, which we were super excited about. So if I come up here to my quick action menu, I can actually pull up the custom field manager. And as you'll see, I can see all the spaces here. I can show all of my custom fields. I could show workspace custom fields and personal list fields here. But the one thing you'll notice here is if your custom fields look a lot like this, and this is a demo portal for Zenpilot, so it's pretty messy, I'll be honest. But if your custom fields are looking like this, that is a problem. So you want to make sure that you don't have custom field craziness just like this, where as you can see, I have a bunch of duplicate custom fields that are living in different locations. You want to make sure that custom field is applied to all those locations where it's living. That way you're pulling from the same data point as opposed to having a bunch of custom fields that are duplicated. Like, so as you can see, we have like 7 or 8 different clients here. But again, this is a demo portal, so take it easy on us. It's not where we're actively working on a day-to-day basis, so it's much cleaner on an actual workspace. But you want to make sure that your workspace doesn't look like this. In addition, what I would recommend, if you come here to the workspace level and you see in your custom field manager that you have a workspace custom field, that is a big no-no in the Zenpilot book. And the reason is because the way that custom fields work is, again, they can live at any location in your ClickUp hierarchy. So they can live at the space level, they can live at a folder level, they can live at a list level. But when you build it at the workspace level, you're essentially telling ClickUp to add that custom field to every single task across your workspace. And when you're first jumping into ClickUp, that doesn't sound so bad. But as you kind of go and maybe design solutions like a CRM system, or maybe you're tracking your goals or different things like that, you don't need a delivery focused custom field like a delivery role to be living on all of your CRM tasks. And you don't need a lot of those CRM custom fields to be living on your delivery tasks. You want to make sure that those custom fields only live as high as the space level. That way, that custom field's applied to every task in the space, but I'm not having to worry about that custom field then being living on a CRM and on my delivery space, my growth space, my operation space. So you want to make sure that you don't have any workspace custom fields, because it's going to make it just, again, you don't want those custom fields living at every single task. It's not necessary. It's not needed. And when people bring all of those up, then it just turns into a lot of headaches. However, with a custom field manager, it is easier to drop them back down and sort of move locations on where they're living. Before, we essentially had to kind of jump into ClickUp and take one custom field and apply it to the next to sort of remap all the values and then be able to move it down to the space level if it was at the workspace level. And it took hours and hours and hours of work. However, now, as you can see, I'll show you how this works. I can easily go and move this custom field down a level to a space. So if I come here and edit, so I just have a testing field set up here. If I wanted to, as you can see, the location is at workspace. But if I wanted to go ahead and change the location of this, I could say, hey, I don't need this living inside of my workspace. I just want it maybe at delivery, or maybe I wanted it at operations, or I wanted it in a bunch of different locations. So I could then go and I could add this to operations as well. And I can also add this to growth. And it's going to apply that custom field in those spaces. The cool part about this too is if you make a mistake, it will kind of keep those values in the background. So essentially, if I do have it at the workspace and I move it down a space and I'm like, shoot, I didn't get into the right spot, you do have the opportunity to kind of undo that, and all of those values will still be there. I can't remember exactly if there's a certain time limit on that. I just know when you do kind of move it, it will have those values hidden in the background, so that if you do kind of move it to one location where it was taken away from, they should still be living, as long as it's the same custom field that you actually moved in the beginning. So as you can see there, I have the ability to move that, add the field to certain locations. I can see where all of these are living, these custom fields. I can also require and task pin them, make them visible to guests, and I can also delete the custom field right here. So that's your option to kind of go and move those if you want to. Again, manage these well. Don't let the whole team start adding these all willy-nilly. You want to make sure you have a strategy behind your custom fields, but the custom field manager makes it much easier for you to be able to manage all that and sort of see where these custom fields are living and things like that. All right,
Yeah,
Kuba, I
this
see
is
you have a hand
awesome.
up.
I've never played around with this to such an extent. I am getting some questions specifically about this. One person asked, can I move a custom field from a space to the workspace, so a level up? And Tice has added to that, I've done that by accident, and now I can't change that field back to a space or list location. I can't do that. You need enterprise version for that, like the enterprise tier for that, I believe. Do you have info on that, Jeff?
Yes, I believe it's Business Plus that you should be able to do that, unless they just changed that. But yeah, you do have to have a high enough ClickUp subscription to be able to do this, what I just showed you. Again, the old way that we used to do it is essentially like, if you don't have Enterprise or you don't have Business Plus and you want to be able to move a custom field, you do have the opportunity to essentially say you accidentally move it to the workspace. You can just go add that field to the space level, like basically create a new custom field to the space level where you want it to live. And then you just have to go basically sort or group by the certain custom field. And then you just go and kind of remap those values. So you use your multi-select toolbar to come up here and just kind of adjust that new custom field, get all the values remapped over to that new custom field, and then delete the old one. Again, it's not a fun process, but if you do have the Enterprise or Business Plus, you have the luxury of being able to use the custom field manager for that. Otherwise, you're going to have to sort of use that old method of just creating a new, exactly same custom field and just remapping all the values and deleting the one that's at the workspace. But hopefully that
Thanks for
answers that question. I want to talk about one more feature in the custom field manager just to make sure we have time for this.
yeah.
What is also cool here is you are able to come here, and if I wanted to merge, so say I do have two custom fields that are the same exact thing, they're the same values. They're separate custom fields. Like as you can see, I have two different meeting custom fields here. They're the same custom field. We just accidentally created two of them. And I wanted to merge those together so that those values would come into one. It would just become one custom field. I do have the option to merge them into one. I can merge the fields just like that. And then that's going to bring them back into one. Again, that was a little bit harder before. You'd have to remap all those values, but now I can just take them and merge them into one custom field there. The other cool part of this as well, sort of the last awesome feature, let's just cancel that, is you do have the ability to actually go and change the sort of what a custom field is. So let's say I wanted to take a custom field and convert it to something else. You can't obviously convert like all custom fields to different custom fields just based off of those values. Like sometimes with drop downs into like multi-select, you wouldn't be able to do that just because you're taking a bunch of different values and converting them into one. So it gets to be a little bit harder there, but you do have the option to convert some of these into different fields. So let's say if I want to go to drop down, I'm going to convert this into something else. I could change this into a label, but again, I can't take a label and change it back up to a drop down because some of those tasks have three different labels applied to them. And what am I supposed to do when I merge that just into one dropdown? Because remember, dropdown can only have one option versus a label can have multiple. So there's some things you can't do. But as you can see here, I do have the option to change the field types into different ones if I wanted to convert a custom field as well, which is nice. You couldn't do that before, but the custom field manager makes that possible. But again, overall, again, this is just a great way to be able to see sort of at certain spaces what custom fields you have. You can also filter by them. You can see sort of all the different data in here as well. So it's just that I'm sure they're going to continue to improve this custom field manager, but right now it's just a great way to be able to merge those, move them to different locations, and just manage them overall. So if you are a ClickUp champion or someone that's managing your workspace, this is a great way to be able to actually manage this overall instead of being able to be like, where are those custom fields living and things like that. It just makes all of that much easier. But if you have any more questions on the custom field manager, things you can do or can't do, feel free to leave them in the chat. We might not have time to chat through all that because I do want to spend some time on commands as well as ClickUp Brain, but we can always create a video as well to answer a lot of those here in the near future.
Yeah, looking at the time and that we need to finish 5 minutes to the top of the hour here. I don't know how much we can get through in terms of Q&A. We've got two questions, and Jeff, instead of answering them directly, I would like you to point us in the direction of like your other videos, of which there are many. That would be a good answer to that. Katie's asking, when you assign tasks, is there a way to avoid holidays, weekends, or outside of business hours so a task is not assigned at 4 a.m. as an example? Is the answer your video on Gantt charts?
Well, that's probably the best way of remapping dates. However, there is no way right now of avoiding holidays. The only thing we've done is we've created like out of office managers here inside of ClickUp that essentially allow you to kind of see when those holidays are. That basically it's mainly for workload because you can book up someone's whole day to kind of know, hey, they have no capacity. So essentially, you create an out of office manager that has those holidays, has their out of office time. Again, it's not a way to avoid getting a task on that day, but you do have the opportunity to see, hey, when are they all booked up? When is that holiday? Because everyone's calendar or the workload view will be filled up. So you can kind of move off that. But again, there's no smarts in ClickUp right now to say, hey, Easter's coming up. Let's kind of move tasks off that day. One other thing we've done, and this is an automation that we've helped teams set up, is essentially any tasks that then fall on the days where someone is out of office gets a little out of office tag applied to that task. And then you just be able to use those to kind of group all of them together to remap it or reassign it to someone else that's in the office. So again, there's no smarts, but there are sort of workarounds that you could do.
Yeah, and that out of office manager, I believe we might be able to offer that to some teams if you're interested. I'll leave a note in the chat if you want to be on the wait list for that, because we're thinking of pushing that out externally. So, and I'll link the Gantt chart video as well in the chat in just a second, because that answers part of the question of like how to skip weekends, etc. Another one from Vincent, and again, let's point Vincent and anybody else curious to another resource and keep things moving. Vincent is saying, I'm wanting to create a dashboard for each member of my team so I can see the tasks assigned to them, where they are at with their tasks, and so forth. How would I do that? Is there like a good ready to go resource to link to?
Not necessarily, but that's a video I can create on. I would just ask, provide some more
Okay.
context on what you're trying to see, like, because you can create, I mean, there's a bunch of different dashboards you can create. Are you trying to see like across your team what they're working on, what's due today, what's due tomorrow? Like, you trying to basically just create one view where you can manage your team in general? If so, then I can definitely get a resource put together for you to be able to see that um, overall. But again, there's different ways. Like maybe you're just trying to create a dashboard for each individual team member to be able to see their work, or maybe you're trying to manage your team. So just, I guess, provide some additional details or context there, and then I'll definitely get a video put together or a resource for that question.
Yeah, yeah. So a great idea would be to add Jeff on LinkedIn, drop him a line. Jeff is always on the lookout for video ideas. And okay, let's pause the Q&A here and get into the rest of the session, as we do also have a few goodies and announcements to share at the end of this webinar.
Yeah, so a couple things. We'll kind of fly through them. One is obviously ClickUp Brain. There's a ton to talk about here. I do have a video on ClickUp Brain. Maybe Kuba, we can link that as well if you're able to look it up
Sure.
as we're going. But it kind of goes over if ClickUp Brain is worth it overall and goes through some of the main use cases of like how I use it, some cool features in there. Obviously, in terms of pricing, it is about $5 per month for everyone. So you can't just have it for specific people, like it's going to be available workspace wide. So that's kind of the hard thing to think about, because if you're not going to get everyone to use it, it might not be worth it. But if your team is all gung ho and they're like, yeah, we want to use ClickUp Brain, and they're going to actually really leverage it, because it can be very helpful if your whole team's bought in. But again, with that price point and how they price it per member, but also it needs to be available to the entire workspace. If you have 50 people in there, times 5, and can get a bit expensive overall per month. But it is really cool, and some of the cool features within it. If I go in here in terms of pulling up your ClickUp Brain, ClickUp AI, whatever you want to call it, your main menu is right here. So ask anything or write with AI. I don't use this as much. There's a couple different sections here. Ask about docs in your workspace based on your role. I think that's really cool. But Kuba, I don't know if you've really used that. I haven't personally used this that much. It is great because it does customize based off of, like, you can adjust your role, and it's going to pull out based off of the docs that you have in your ClickUp workspace, what questions it's actually asking here. But again, I haven't really leveraged that one. I do think the ask about your tasks is cool too. But again, if you need to ask what tasks am I working on or what should I work on next, I don't think you have your ClickUp workspace set up all that correctly. You want to make
Mm.
sure that you have all your tasks in there and you're prioritizing for your team to know what they should work on. But again, if they need a little additional set of hands or something like that, they could use this over here. Um, the the part that I find most valuable or really cool and how ClickUp really has built this AI or brain functionality is the tools that they provide overall. Because I think the biggest thing about AI right now is that people are kind of nervous or scared to get into it because they're not sure what prompts to use. And there's all this, you can go on Reddit or anywhere and find all these amazing prompts to write an amazing blog post for whatever industry. But with ClickUp, they've made it a little bit easier. And as you can see, I have a bunch of options for me to do different things overall. So as I can see sales, I can also go into marketing. As you can see, a bunch of different tools that essentially kind of craft the prompt for me overall. Again, I still have to give it data, but I can come in here and it's going to tell me, it's going to prompt me basically with a form of what I should provide. So planned marketing event, it's going to ask me for the event type, the target audience, the product or service, and then I can give the tone of voice and creativity. But it does give me some smarts there to be able to kind of not have to build that whole prompt by myself. So I do think that part's really cool of ClickUp AI. Obviously, it's great because it's also in your project management system. I think this is really great. And to kind of go back to that question is how can I create a dashboard to see what my team's working on and stuff like that? You can create a dashboard, but you can also use this write stand up either for yourself, or I can get team updates and put my whole team in here to kind of see what we're all working on. So I can get a stand up from the last 24 hours, 7 days, this week. I can do in a bulleted list, short or traditional. I could generate that. Again, this is a demo portal, so don't expect this output to be all that amazing. But again, if you want to just be able to get like a quick view of what your team's doing overall inside of ClickUp, that's a really cool feature. And I do use that one. I think it is valuable, especially because, like, again, you can create all these views and stuff to be able to see this in ClickUp. But if you just want like quick, like in the morning, be able to see what happened yesterday, you can do that. You can get this. I can create a doc out of that. I can create a task if I wanted to from it as well. So it is very cool to get that, because a lot of different systems, they lack that visibility. ClickUp is super strong there in terms of visibility across your organization. And that's just kind of something that you can also apply to this as well. A couple other things from an AI standpoint that are great. I do find the docs piece of this great as well. So if I were to go, let's just pull up this blog post, for instance. Now, if you're in a doc and I pull up this AI, it's going to actually then sort of pull up that doc for me. As you can see, it says paper 101 because I'm pulling up this AI while I'm on this doc, and then I can ask a question about the doc. So maybe, what are the key takeaways? How can this doc be made clearer? What topics are covered? I can also spell check this, which is super helpful, because if you write all your content in ClickUp, you're able to get this value out of it as well. So you can do spell checks and things like that, which I find super valuable. Honestly, I write everything inside of ClickUp. I don't use Google Docs anymore. I used to for a while. But now, like, people love Grammarly and tools like that. If I come here and I highlight text, I can go and I can fix spelling and grammar. So if I spell anything wrong, I don't need Grammarly anymore, because I can just use this and it's going to tell me, hey, did I misspell anything or anything wrong in terms of grammar? And it's going to fix that for me. And I can just go and replace this just
Yeah.
like that. So a lot of cool
Yeah.
things with being able to highlight text. I can also use the slash commands here as well to pull up those AI functionality. So it's super easy to use and leverage.
That's really useful, and you really brought me around to using ClickUp and ClickUp Docs and ClickUp AI for writing. When I was writing my ultimate guide to SOPs, that's on our blog, you can check it out. I used ClickUp to do spell checking. I used the AI to do some spell check, to generate some additional ideas, fill in some sections. When I got stuck, it was really useful. I got a quick question from Tice. Does ClickUp Brain also help with creating a view or creating a new list setup?
Not right now. No, it does not. It's not going to help create any views. I think the only thing it does, and I haven't really leveraged this that much, is you can get help with creating automations. Again, I'll test
Wow.
this out and let you know if I find it all that valuable, because it could be. But yeah, not right now. It's not going to help you create views and things like that. That's what we at Zempout are here to do. So hopefully AI doesn't take our jobs. But yeah, that's what AI right now can help with, those automations, but not views. The one thing I will add to that, though, the only sort of view updates with AI that it does have, and this is something else that I find very, very cool, is you can add these AI summary custom fields. So especially, and I've talked about this a lot, but like for account manager views and things like that, or just anyone trying to get sort of a high level view of all the work that's happening. So as you can see, again, with our same task structure that I explained at the beginning of this webinar, we have parent tasks and subtasks. It's all happening inside of that workflow right there for this ebook. Now what I'm able to do is I can do this, use this AI summary to kind of come here and say, I don't want to jump into this task necessarily to see what's happening across all these different workflows. I can just come here and I can go ahead and get a summary of what's happened. So if I go to edit field, I'll show you. You can, again, name it description. This is a text area, long text AI summary, AI progress updates there, you'll see. But I can get information from the last 30 days, just today, last 7 days. I can format that differently. So I find this super cool, because especially, again, if your team, all their communication and everything is happening in that parent tasks and subtask structure, you're going to get really good outputs from this overall. So it's just going to be very helpful, again, to get that high level overview of what's happening there. One other thing from AI, and then I want to talk about custom commands for 2 minutes, because I know we're running out of time, Kuba.
Yeah, we are.
I would say, if you want to make ClickUp Brain worth it, you got to make ClickUp your single source of truth for everything. So I'm talking knowledge bases, I'm talking meeting notes, I'm talking get everything into ClickUp in documents and stuff like that. So all of my clients, every single client here is going to have a document that lives here, where we take all of our notes and everything lives here inside of ClickUp. What that does then is you can actually search with AI. So maybe like, what happened at the last Dunner Mifflin meeting, or even if you have all of your knowledge bases and SOPs inside of ClickUp and someone searches for something because they can't find the answer to it, AI in ClickUp is basically going to pull out that answer for you and show you the doc where that lives. So if you want to know, like, when should I use Slack versus ClickUp? And if I have that documentation inside of ClickUp, ClickUp is going to pull that out for me and also link the doc for me to see that. So it's going to make it way easier for your team to find things. They can search for it. As you can see, I can ask AI right there. And it's just a great way. Again, make ClickUp your single source of truth. And all of that is going to be, it's just going to make it that much more powerful here inside of ClickUp Brain. Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing very quickly.
Yeah. Jeff, I don't know if we have enough time for ClickUp commands today, given that we also want to offer, these strategy sessions with you. We should get into that before the top of the hour because we're supposed to vacate Zoom by then.
All right, so we will talk about ClickUp custom commands next time we jump on a call. We'll have a video coming out here shortly for that as well. So stay tuned for that. But custom commands are great. Also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm posting a bunch of those out there as well. But I'll let Kuba take it over for the CTAs and sort of what's next from this webinar as well.
Okay, need to talk fast. So thank you so much for joining us today. Great questions, great engagement. Love it. Now, we've got something really special for you today, something that we haven't offered before, but aside from the opportunity to, I'm going to skip to the end here. Aside from the opportunity to grab a call with us, with our team, to push the easy button on all of this and just talk with ZenPilot about direct ClickUp consulting and us building your workspace for you, if you're not ready for that just yet, how about a one-on-one strategy session with Jeff here? Go to zenpilot.com/clickup-strategy-session and you'll get access to Jeff's calendar and you'll be able to grab a session with him, which honestly I would be really excited about if I weren't part of ZenPilot already, because as you can see, Jeff has like probably like 50 hours of content here to present, and we only had the one. So if you want to get your specific questions answered, dig deeper into something that you mentioned on the Q&A, talk dashboards, talk anything else, then you can go to that URL and grab some knowledge directly out of Jeff's brain. Now, for more resources from ZenPilot, we have like 50-page ebooks. Our ultimate guide to ClickUp is, I think, 56 pages. We have a dedicated ClickUp for agencies guide and a lot of different other goodies on zenpilot.com/resources. Go there. There's a ton of free downloadables for there. I'm sure you'll find something that you might want there. Last but not least, we have another webinar coming up soon. We try to keep doing them once every 2 weeks or so. So our next one will be about how to build a CRM in ClickUp, because you can do it and it can be beautiful because you keep all of your work in one place and both your sales and delivery teams can work beautifully together in ClickUp. So to sign up for that, go to zenpilot.com/clickup-webinar-April and you'll be able to sign up to a Zoom webinar just like this one. This will not be an open live stream or anything, so you're going to need to sign up. And this is the very first time we're mentioning this, that this event will be happening. So go and do that. And again, if you're finding the need that you would like to get direct consulting, meet our team, and get the best possible ClickUp setup for your organization, you're ready to have that clarity, that visibility, know what everybody's working on at any point in time, and to be able to also check the profitability of your organization, build the right habits, get more done, and have a happier team, and much, much more. The best way to do that is to grab a call with us. zenpilot.com/call. We hope we'll get to talk with you and have a look at your organization and your ClickUp setup. Or maybe you're looking to migrate to ClickUp. We'll get to have a look at that very, very soon. And that's about it for today. Okay, this slide does say questions, but we're basically out of time. So I'll leave this on the screen here. And thank you all very much for attending the webinar today. Stay in touch with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, ZenPilot on LinkedIn, Jakub Greitzel on LinkedIn, Jeff Cypher on LinkedIn. Go to zenpilot.com. Sign up for First Class Operations. There's a ton of ways to keep in touch with us. Subscribe to our YouTube. As you can see, we have a ton of tutorials there. And did I miss anything, Jeff?
No, but let's hang out. Go book your ClickUp strategy session. I'm super excited. This is the first time we've done this, but want to talk ClickUp with all of you if I can be of any help. Obviously, don't know every single answer out there, but let's hang out for 25 minutes or so and just talk ClickUp and let me help you give some free advice. So
honestly, in terms of free offers, I think this is the best one we've done so far. A direct consult with you. I mean, I would have welcomed that back when I was not part of ZenPilot because there's so many good practices to grab here. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. It was great. And we'll see you at the next one. Can't wait. Don't be a stranger. Let's stay in touch, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye bye, everyone. Have a nice
See
one.
y'all.